not every step is going to be better than the last. And not every relationship is going to be better than your last relationship. It's not a linear, straight path up. It goes down and up. Sometimes you'll have a worse job than your last job. And you're like, man, my last job was actually better. Why, but you needed to know that. And you needed to hit this step in order to get you to where you're going. It's a collective experience that's bringing you up. It's not each step that necessarily brings you up.
All right. Hi, Emma. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Christy.
I am so excited, everyone listening who can't see her. Emma Lovewell is on the show today. She is a Peloton instructor based in New York, a health and wellness expert, and most excitingly, a newly minted author.
Yeah.
Her new book, Live, Learn, Love Well, is out now. Did I miss anything?
No, you hit all the points.
What do you say? How do you introduce yourself when people ask you what you do?
Oh, that's hard. It depends. But nowadays, if I say a Peloton instructor, people often know what that is. But there was a time before when I would say Peloton instructor and people would be like, what is that? And then I'd have to go in and explain, and that gets confusing.
Yeah.
So now, yes, I definitely say Peloton instructor, and author is a new favorite descriptor for me.
I'm sure. Tell us a little bit about this book journey. How's it been? I came out with a book last year and it's like a labor of love.
Oh my gosh. It was a lot more work than I had thought it would be, but all great things. I learned a lot. The writing process took me a year and a half and it's a memoir style book. So I'm sharing childhood stories, career stories, and I'm also kind of giving life tips along the way, just some backstory of, my side steps or back steps or moments when I felt like, I don't know what I'm doing and how did I push through? And so kind of reliving all of those stories and moments in my life was a little bit therapeutic. It kind of felt like I was going through therapy at that time because I'm reliving everything and having difficult conversations with my family about how we remembered these events in our lives. And then once it came out, then like the promotion of the book has been really intense for the last 2 weeks. I've been traveling and doing TV appearances and going to California and Chicago and live events and everything. And so that was just like, you're cracking yourself open and putting yourself out there on multiple levels. So I feel like I'm actually like on the come down from that right now, where I'm like not traveling as much. And now I'm kind of just looking back at everything that I just went through in the last year and a half. And I'm proud. And I'm proud of what I've done. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, as you should be. It's a ton of work. And my book was just quotes that seemed very far removed from myself. I mean, I put little paragraphs in, but to write a whole memoir, that takes a ton of vulnerability. Was that like terrifying?
Yes, because I think by nature, I'm really honest. Like, I just want to be, I'm like, oh, this is how it happened.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had to like just write it all out how it happened and then kind of reread it and be like, okay, like how am I, and then have like my mom read it. I'm like, Mom, are you okay with me sharing this?
Yeah.
And then I had to like tweak some things where I'm like, do I want to say this? Like, is this actually how I want to come off? And so that was like also a trip because you just want to blurt things out, but sometimes that's actually not the best way to express yourself.
I totally get that. There has to be some sort of filter, although I'm sure it's still very raw and honest in every way. Well, I think most people know you from probably being a Peloton instructor. Now everyone's very familiar with what that is. How did you get there? Like little spark notes.
Yes. And this I write about in my book, so you can read it in full when you read my book.
Oh, perfect. This is a teaser.
Yes. But basically, I was a dancer in New York City. I was auditioning. I was going on Craigslist looking for jobs. I replied to a $50 Craigslist job for a modeling gig that led me to meet a photographer who ended up being the photographer that I chose to shoot the cover of my book.
Oh,
and this is like many, many, many years ago. And he introduced me to somebody who got me a modeling agent. That modeling agent got me a job as a model for a Peloton Kickstarter campaign. I was a Kickstarter campaign model. Peloton's brand new, never heard of it. Went on to teach fitness for many other companies. Was feeling really lost in my career, not sure what I should do. I decided to email the CEO of Peloton, which my boyfriend told me to do. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not just going to email the CEO. Like, you're crazy. But he was like, what are you going to lose? And so I emailed the CEO and he wrote back, and then the rest is history. So that's a very Spark Note, version of that story. But it was a lot of instances of meeting the right people, putting myself out there, taking risk and continuously taking risk to put myself in the right position.
Absolutely. Well, that leads us perfectly into the question of the show. And maybe that best advice you've ever gotten came then. Maybe it came at a different time. But what is the best advice you've ever gotten?
I mean, along those lines of, the Wayne Gretzky quote, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. And that's kind of the same mentality. That's like, what do you have to lose? Like, just put yourself out there. I say this a lot too. It's like, acknowledge the fear and do it anyway. And it's like, you're not always going to succeed, but you'll never know if you don't try. And so I'm constantly paying attention. This book, for example, was me being like, wow, this is uncomfortable. This might be really challenging. Maybe I should do it. Maybe because it's so uncomfortable, because it's like bringing stuff up for me where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm having doubt and whatever. Like, maybe this is something I should lean into. And sometimes that flight or fight response is there for a reason, right? Sometimes your gut is telling you don't do the thing. Also listen to that. But if it's like doubt with a little bit of fear mixed in with like, how am I perceived, or what do people think of me? Like, all that chatter, not like safety, is like, well, maybe don't listen to that,
Yeah.
But yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I think that's beautiful. I always knew that to be a Michael Scott quote from The Office, but remember when he writes it on the wall?
Okay, yeah, let's fact check.
Yeah, no. It is definitely Wayne Gretzky. He writes it on the wall as himself having said it. I love that quote, though. Always have. Do you have an instance in your life where you didn't take that advice, where you regret not having leaped?
I really try not to live in regret because, in my opinion, everything is always like, it's meant to be. Like, it didn't work out. That didn't happen. I didn't get that job, or I did, when I was a dancer, I was auditioning all the time, and 99% of the jobs I auditioned for, I did not get. Right. And so I could be every day being like, I should have hit that move harder. I should have introduced myself to the choreographer before and after. I should have changed my resume. There's so many opportunity for saying that to yourself in every single daily activity.
Yeah.
And so I really try not to do that, because in my mind, it didn't work out because for some reason it didn't, because there's something else that's going to happen. There's something else that is going to work out for me. And so there's so many outside factors. Like, I could have performed better. I could have done this, but the person hiring could have been having a bad day. I could have reminded them of somebody they didn't like. Like, there's so many reasons that are out of your control. And so I try my best to just be like, it is what it is. It's not my time. My time is coming.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's also a factor of just trusting that you know yourself and that you did the best you could with the information that you had at a time. That's a quote that I love.
Yep.
And after that, you have to be at peace with whatever your life has turned into and whatever you've created.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I also love hearing if there's a worst piece of advice you've ever gotten, or a quote that you just have never liked.
Ooh, a quote that I've never liked. I mean, I'm definitely... okay, here's one that's based in fitness. Never miss a Monday. I hate that quote.
Okay, you know what's funny is your coworker, Jess King, came on this show as well. Yeah. And she said her least favorite one was no days off. It's very similar. So I'm really happy that you guys both have the same thought process, because I strongly dislike both of those ideas.
Totally. Oh my God. I thought you were going to say, because I didn't know that what she said on her episode. I thought you were going to say that was her favorite quote. And then I was like, oh no, I'm going to have a conversation with her.
No, she had the same thought process. So why do you not enjoy that one very much?
I just think that it's so, I mean, the subtitle of my book is Progress, Not Perfection. There's no way you can hit every single Monday, nor do you have to. And like, I think there's this mentality that's like, oh, you know, you said you were going to work out 3 days a week. You missed one day, throw in the towel, all bets are off. Like you failed. It's like, you know what? Life happens. You can't always work out 3 days a week like you said you were going to. That doesn't mean you should completely stop working out altogether. And doesn't mean you should be hard on yourself throughout that process. I think it's like taking things with stride, like taking things with grace and knowing that you're human, life happens, show up when you can. Yes, commitments are helpful because they help us show up. Commitment shows up when motivation is lacking. That's another quote that I like. So, when you commit to something, you're more likely to show up. But sometimes it doesn't happen and it's not the end of the world. And sometimes your body needs to rest. And if it's a Monday and you're feeling like, wow, I need to rest my body, you absolutely should.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's coming from Emma Lovewell, everyone. If she can take a day of rest, you can take a day of rest.
Yes.
I really like that. Do you have a favorite? Now we're going to the positive side. Do you have a favorite quote or affirmation or mantra that you like repeat to yourself every day or something that's always stuck out?
Something that really stuck out to me, and I say it as often as I can, enough so that people don't get totally sick of me saying it, is work out because you love your body, not because you hate it. And I think that I don't know where I first heard that 15 years ago, 10 years ago, but it changed everything for me because I love movement. I love exercise. I was a dancer, an athlete, lifelong athlete. So movement is part of me, but there were times where I would punish myself in workouts. I'd be like, I'm going to go kick my own ass because like I deserve it. Like or it's a punishment for eating something or whatever. There's all this like negative connotation with exercise and like punishment. And when you flip that mind frame and it's just a mindset, it opens the world into abundance and positivity and all of the good things that you want to be receiving in your life. And it's like, we get to do this. If you're able-bodied and you're able to go for a walk, you're able to take a dance class or do a workout, like that's amazing. Like that's good for your body. That's good for your longevity. That's good for your family. That's good for your mental health. Like you're really doing something positive. It's not punishment. And we all have our own issues with body image. I'm sure like across the world, everybody has their own thing. And it's just like, I think we should just be celebrating our ability more than punishing our bodies.
Absolutely. I really like that. I'm wondering, is there a time, I mean, you've been in the fitness world for a long time, you modeled, like your body has been a topic of conversation for probably your whole career. Has there been certain times in your career where you felt a lot of insecurity about it? I mean, because from the outside looking in, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Emma Lovewell's six-pack. I mean, that's insane. But I think it's always nice to hear when even people with a huge six-pack struggle.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, I actually remember, here's a short story. I remember, so I work with Under Armour. I'm an Under Armour athlete. I've been with them for almost 5 years, I think. And, the internet is a brutal place. Like, I think one of the first times they posted a photo or a video of me working out, doing something on their page, which has millions and millions of followers. And like the comment section was brutal. It was just like ripping my body apart. And here I am supposed to be like this model of fitness and health. And who knows who's in the comments? 13-year-old boys, trolls. I don't know, like whatever. But, her arms are too big. She doesn't have an ass. Like, look at her legs, like her hair, just name anything. And it was like, it's hard not to take that in. And this was 5 years ago. And I was like, wow, like it ruined a day, 2 days for me. There was like 2 straight days where I thought about it. And I was like, what can I do? You know? And I know these, and what I was thinking about, it was like, I help so many people on a daily basis live their best lives. I'm doing something really positive for the world. And none of these people know that. None of these people know any impact that I have in the world. All they are doing is looking at the way my arms look or my butt looks. And like, that has nothing to do with my impact in the world. And, but you know, and it happens every so often. The internet TikTok is a crazy place.
Oh, amen. Amen.
So
Wild West.
And I talk to my colleagues about it because we all get mean messages every once in a while, and we'll rely on each other to kind of support each other because nobody else really knows what it's like besides each other. And so I have, a group chat with some friends. And if that ever happens, like, I read this message today and it, made me feel bad, and we'll kind of just be there to support each other.
I love that. A support group can be all the difference sometimes, most of the time. I really like that. And I love that story, and I think a lot of people will find comfort in it because it just goes to show people will nitpick anything and everything.
Anything.
You could be the most societally standard, beautiful person, and people will still find a million things wrong with you. So don't try and reach for perfection, team.
Exactly.
Do you have a piece of best advice that you would give to someone else who is where you were early on in your career?
I think every step is necessary to get you to where you're going. So if there's any step that feels like, was this the right step? And maybe it felt like a backward step, because I took some sidestep backward steps where I was like, this feels like a downgrade in my career. Like, not every step is going to be better than the last. And not every relationship is going to be better than your last relationship. It's not a linear, straight path up. It goes down and up. Sometimes you'll have a worse job than your last job. And you're like, man, my last job was actually better. Why, but you needed to know that. And you needed to hit this step in order to get you to where you're going. It's a collective experience that's bringing you up. It's not each step that necessarily brings you up.
I needed that so bad. Truly, I feel like that is such a revolutionary way to look at progress, because to me, it's always been, well, progress is being better than I was yesterday. You hear those quotes all the time.
Right.
But maybe progress is just getting through another day, just getting to another day.
There was this viral video, and I'm sorry, I do not know the athlete's name, but he was being interviewed after a game. And somebody's like, how did you, he just lost the game. And they were like, how did you feel about your season? Like, did you feel like you failed? And he was just
Giannis.
Yes.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Thank you.
Thank you to my husband for teaching me that name.
Thank you. Because I was like, I know somebody's going to know it who's listening.
Yes. Giannis.
I loved that. I listened to it like 3 times because I was like, you're spot on. Do you tell Michael Jordan that he failed, that he had a terrible season or that he's a failure? It's like, no, you play and you keep playing and you keep showing up, and it's the collective movement in your career. It's not you losing one game that makes you lose your career. It's like, I don't know. I love the way that he articulated that kind of mentality, because I believe that too.
Well, and it's beautiful because I think that also puts into play the fact that so many things are out of our control. Like, and especially in fitness, in our careers, we can do our absolute best. And sometimes we're not going to get that promotion and we're not going to hit that PR. And that's a sad reality, but it is reality. So if we just set ourselves up to think the only way that we succeed is if we're better than we were yesterday, we're just going to end up being disappointed in ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah. I think that's mind-blowing. I love that. Do you have a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's struggling with their fitness and health routine? You are also a chef. You chef it up. You have amazing recipes on your website. You have a very good outlook on fitness and just all around wellness. So what would you say to someone who's kind of struggling to find their rhythm in that?
Routines have helped me so much, like creating morning routines and things that you enjoy to do. And also just like start small, like start really small. So if you're creating a routine and you're like, okay, I want to have a glass of, and this is me, I want to have a glass of water first thing when I wake up. Like, I make sure that I do that and I commit to that. And that's like the easiest thing. And still yet sometimes I fail, Sometimes I forget to drink water and I'm like, oh my gosh. But like Start really simple. I want to go for a 5-minute walk every morning. 5 minutes. Like, can you commit to 5 minutes? If you're feeling good after 5 minutes, maybe it turns into a 10-minute walk. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe 5 minutes is totally fine. Maybe you make it to 4 minutes, like whatever. I just think that change creates more change. Movement creates more movement. The hardest part to get moving is from stand still. So if you're standing still, it's hard to, but once you're like rolling the ball a little bit, it's so much easier. Once you're, okay, I got my drink, I got my water in the morning, I got my 5-minute walk. Okay, what else can I add in? Okay, now I'm going to commit to like eating vegetables at every meal. 3 times a day, I'm going to have vegetables. Or maybe I'm going to meditate 3 times a week. Maybe I'm going to, there are these things that we know about now because, wellness is such a popular topic. Try the things and see if they make your day a little bit better. And that's what we're striving for, is doing more things that bring you more joy so you have lighter, brighter days.
I love that. Start small, one day at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Don't need to see the whole staircase here. I really think that's beautiful.
Totally. Like an hour-long workout is great, but, sometimes that's not what we have time for. And sometimes we're not up for that.
And sometimes it's just like the 10-minute ab burner with Emma Lovewell.
Yeah.
And trust me, you feel great. So I get that.
You get a lot done in 10 minutes.
You can get a lot done with a drill sergeant like you in 10 minutes. Yes. No, I think that's wonderful. Okay, last question. Do you have a favorite chapter from your book?
One of my favorite chapters is about my mom. It's called More Best Days. And it's, I had a 70th birthday party for my mom, and it was we had a garden party. I had a Taiwanese chef come and make food. I had a mariachi band. It was like this whole thing outdoors. Her whole family came, and at the end, she said to me, "Emma, that was the best day of my life." And that made me so happy, but it also made me sad because I was like, this can't be the best day. Like, you still have lives to live. Like, let's have more. Like, you need more best days. Like, this can't be the last one, And so it just like, in the chapter, I just explore more about what it means to have a best day and how we put so much pressure on graduations, weddings, having children, like these momentous things in our life that are supposed to be the best day. And then it's so much pressure. Like, what if it's not the best day? What if you don't enjoy it? What if you don't have a good time?
Yeah.
And also, how many more days are there in your life that could be best days? Simple things that can lead to having the best day. You don't need to wait for some, big life moment to have a best day.
I love that. Oh, okay. The most beautiful ending. That was poetic and lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and all of your goodness. And I mean, I knew it from your rides that I was like, oh, she's going to have some good things to say. But you have absolutely lived up to what I thought you would be. And thank you for joining us. We want to follow you and keep up with what you're doing. Tell everyone where they can go and how they can support.
Yeah. My website is livelearnlovewell.com. I have recipes, travel, a bunch of good stuff on there. And then Instagram at Emma Lovewell, Twitter at Emma Lovewell, TikTok at Emma Lovewell, all places you can find me. And then, of course, on the Peloton app.
Yay. Okay. Everyone go follow, download the Peloton app, take our classes one step at a time. You can start with the short ones, get to the longer ones, and go buy her new book and get more wisdom. And we will keep following along with your beautiful journey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Christy.
Thanks. And to all of our listeners, thanks for listening to The Shift.